He entered the lion's den, wearing only a simple grey robe and black slippers. He had no bag, wore no gloves, and had no visible muscle mass to impress the giants surrounding him. To the 115-kilogram heavyweights ruling this gym, he looked like a lost scholar. One of them, a mountain of a man named Mike, looked down at this small man and laughed. He said to him, "Old man, you are too small to belong here. Go on, get out of here, this place is too much for you," he said. This giant man didn't know what he was doing, but he was about to learn. What he did was a big mistake, and it would likely be the last mistake he would make. What happened in the next 10 seconds didn't just prove the bodybuilder wrong, it shattered the definition of human strength. What was about to happen would be the kind of event that makes you say, "No way." The venue was a distinctly Western-style boxing club and weight room. Everywhere was filled with piles of iron. It was a place for people who wanted to turn into piles of muscle, just like their egos. This was a cathedral of iron and ego. This was not one of those polished gyms of the modern era with air conditioning and neon lights. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of stale sweat and chalk dust. Metal plates crashing against concrete, the thud of leather gloves hitting sandbags, and the guttural grunts of men pushing their limits. This is the place where the biggest, strongest men come to prove their existence. Here, success is measured by simple and brutal mathematics. How much weight can you lift? How much space do you occupy? Into this world of extremes enters Ip Man. He is only 1.63 meters tall, and his weight is barely 56 kilograms. In a room full of men who have spent years turning their bodies into armor, Ip Man appears almost transparent. He moves differently from them. While the bodybuilders walk clumsily with heavy, cautious steps, their calves rubbing together and their arms held wide by massive lat muscles, Ip Man seemingly glides. His steps are silent. His posture is upright, relaxed, and almost indifferent. He finds a small, empty corner of the gym, away from the heavy bench press benches and squat racks. He does not strip down to show off bulging biceps. He is completely different from the environment with his traditional tunic. To the men watching him from the mirrors, he looks ridiculous. He is merely a distraction. And Ip Man begins to move, but not in a way the gym regulars would understand. He is not lifting weights. He is not throwing hard punches at the heavy bag. He stands in place, knees slightly bent, performing the Siu Nim Tao form. His movements are agonizingly slow. An arm extends, fingers loose, the wrist rotating with a thin, almost invisible tension. The others watching what is happening are quite astonished and arrogant. To the untrained eye of a Western weightlifter, this is nothing. It looks like a dance made for the elderly. A few of the men pause their sets and snicker. They nudge each other, pointing at the little man, waving his hands in the air. In their world, if you aren't straining, if your veins aren't about to burst, it means you aren't working. If you aren't muscular enough. They do not see the internal structure. They do not see that Ip Man is rooting himself to the ground, connecting his elbows to his hips, establishing a kinetic chain that turns his entire skeletal structure into a weapon. They only see size. But soon they will face the truth behind the appearance. Among these giants, there is a king. His name is Mike. He is a physiological marvel, 1.88 meters tall, 115 kilograms of pure functional muscle. He is the kind of man who has to turn sideways to pass through a door. Mike is not just someone who comes and goes to the gym for his muscles. He is also a competitor, a local legend who can lift a small car on the bench press. He is an athlete everyone knows. Mike spent 8 years building this armor. His identity is wrapped in the circumference of his body. Mike finishes a heavy deadlift set, dropping the bar with a noise that shakes the floorboards. He wipes his forehead and sees Ip Man in the corner, still performing those slow, meditative movements. Mike feels anger rising in his chest. This gym is for the strong. Having someone like this in his space goes against his ego. He becomes quite annoyed. Ip Man's presence makes it feel like their hard work is being mocked. Mike walks toward him, his shadow completely covering the Grandmaster. The gym goes quiet. The sounds of weights stop. Everyone knows the hierarchy, and everyone knows what happens when the alpha is challenged, even passively. Mike stands with his arms crossed, his biceps almost the size of Ip Man's waist. He watches for a moment, waiting for Ip Man to notice him. Ip Man does not notice. He finishes his movement, breathes out softly, and returns to a neutral stance. Only then does he look up. His face is peaceful. There is no fear, but there is no aggression either. It is like the surface of a deep, still lake. "Are you lost, old man?" Mike asks. His voice is deep, echoing off the brick walls. "If you are looking for the library, it is 2 streets down. Being here is not suitable for your age. Don't damage your bones," he says. Ip Man smiles politely, a small, humble gesture. "I am just exercising," he says. His English is accented but clear. "Is this not a place for training?" Mike laughs, a short sound. "Training? Waving your hands in the air is not training. Training is lifting iron. Training is building strength, real strength, strength you can see. What you are doing is a bit like a dance," he says, and lets out an ugly laugh. He squeezes his massive arm, the triceps muscle distinct and rock hard. "This is what we do here. We build monsters. You look like you would break if I sneezed." Ip Man does not lose his composure. He does not step back. He never enters an ego battle. "Strength has many forms," Ip Man replies, softly. "Some strength is loud, some is quiet. The mighty oak tree is strong, but it breaks in the storm. Bamboo is thin, but it bends and returns to its old shape. So, the skill is not in the appearance, but on the inside," he says. Mike hates the answer. It sounds like a riddle, like an excuse for weakness. "That is very funny," Mike sneers. "In the real world, in a fight, these dance-like moves won't save you. Size saves you, mass saves you, muscle saves you. Physics is physics. I have 50 kilos on you. I can grab you, sit on you, and there is nothing, absolutely nothing, your bamboo philosophy can do against that." He gets even closer, entering Ip Man's personal space. The intimidation is physical, palpable. "You are too small to fight. You are too small to matter. What I mean is, you are in the wrong place." Ip Man looks at the giant man. He sees the tension in Mike's shoulders. He sees the ego that constantly needs validation. He sees a man who has built a fortress around himself because he is afraid of what is outside. "Do you believe size equals fighting ability?" Ip Man asks. "I know it does," Mike snaps back. "And what if I could show you otherwise?" Ip Man's voice does not rise. He murmurs as if chatting. Mike grins, looking at his audience in the back. The other bodybuilders are also grinning. Ego completely dominates the atmosphere. They want blood. They want a show. "Do you want to fight me?" Mike asks, almost in disbelief. "I do not want to fight," says Ip Man. "Fighting is ugly, but perhaps we can exchange ideas. A demonstration." Mike mocks. "Okay, show me your bamboo power. Come on, hit me. I won't even lift my hands. Land your best shot right here." He points to his chest muscle, thick enough to stop a low-caliber bullet. Ip Man gently shakes his head. "No. If I hit you, you might get hurt. Instead, you try to hit me." The gym groans with laughter. This is the sound of pure disbelief. They all mutter amongst themselves mockingly. A 56-kilogram man wants a 115-kilogram power machine to throw a punch? This is suicide. "You want me to hit you?" asks Mike, his smile turning into confusion. "Old man, I will break your skull. Don't you see how strong I am?" he says. "Just one single punch," says Ip Man. "Your best shot. If you can touch me, you win." I will leave here, and I will never return. Mike looks around. He has no choice left now. His pride is at stake. He has to crush this delusion. All right, says Mike. Don't say I didn't warn you. He steps back and shakes out his arms. He assumes a crude boxing stance, hands up, chin tucked. He is not a professional boxer, but he knows street fights, and with his weight, he does not need to be a technician. He just needs to connect. Ip Man stands with his feet shoulder-width apart. His hands are open, floating at waist level. He looks completely unprepared. Mike takes a breath, his eyes narrow. He decides to finish the job with a simple right cross, a punch backed by the kinetic energy of a falling anvil. He powers off his back foot, rotates his massive torso, and channels every ounce of his strength into his right fist. This is the kind of punch that would shatter a heavy bag. It screams through the air toward Ip Man's face. Time seems to compress. Ip Man does not retreat. He does not duck. He moves forward. A fraction of a second before the punch connects, Ip Man shifts his weight. He steps inside Mike's guard. His left hand rises, not to block the force, but to redirect it. He uses a tan sao, dispersing hand, catching Mike's forearm and guiding that massive punch harmlessly over his shoulder. Mike's momentum betrays him. He is falling forward into the empty space where he thought Ip Man would be. And then the counterattack begins. Ip Man is now inside the giant's guard. He is nose to nose with the bodybuilder. This is the death zone of Wing Chun. Ip Man unleashes a barrage of vertical punches. Chain punches. Pop, 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 pop. It sounds like exploding firecrackers. These are not swinging punches. These are short, sharp shocks delivered directly to the solar plexus and floating ribs. Ip Man is not using muscle power. He is using structure. He drives his entire body weight through his knuckles into Mike with bursts of kinetic energy. Mike gulps, gasping for breath. The air is violently expelled from his lungs. His lungs are in pain. His diaphragm spasms. Before he can even process the pain, Ip Man sweeps his leg. A thin, effortless kick to the back of Mike's knee. Mike has never experienced such great pain in his life. The giant structure collapses. Mike hits the floor, not in a fight, but in a demolition. He is on his hands and knees, trying to breathe, searching for air that won't come, his face turning a pale grey tone. The other men seeing him look at each other in shock. Ip Man stands right over Mike, almost not out of breath at all. His hands have already returned to the neutral position. He is quite calm. It took exactly 8 seconds. The gym looks at Ip Man, frozen. The silence in the gym is heavier than the iron plates. 15 men stand like statues, mouths slightly open, brains trying to calculate the physics of what they just witnessed. The impossible has happened. The ant has toppled the elephant. Mike is making wheezing sounds on the floor. The panic of suffocation is setting in. His massive muscles are now useless. They are just dead weights consuming the oxygen he cannot get. Ip Man crouches beside him. He places a gentle hand on Mike's back. Breathe, he commands softly. Do not fight the spasm. Relax your stomach. Let the air return. It takes a full minute for Mike to find his breath. When he finally breathes, it is a ragged, desperate sound. He pushes himself into a sitting position, sweat pouring from his face, looking at Ip Man with a mixture of fear and admiration. What? Growls Mike. What was that? A trick? No trick, says Ip Man calmly. Physics, you committed all, your energy to one direction. I simply borrowed it. You are strong, yes, but your strength is rigid. Like a stone. A stone is hard, but if you throw it, once it leaves your hand, it cannot change its course. My strength is like water. It flows, it fills the gaps, and it finds its way. Mike shakes his head, rubbing his crushed chest. I didn't even see your hands. How did you do that? Because you were looking for power, explains Ip Man. You wound up like a baseball pitcher. You told me 3 seconds before you threw the punch that you were going to punch me. Movements have a language. They tell everything before you say it. Tension is a telegraph. Relaxation is speed. Ip Man stands up and offers his hand to the fallen giant. Mike looks at that small, slender hand, the hand that just laid him out. He hesitates, his ego battling his reality. Then, slowly he reaches out. Ip Man pulls him up with surprising balance. You have built a magnificent temple, says Ip Man, pointing to Mike's body. But a temple without a door is a tomb. You have locked yourself inside your own muscles. You must learn to open the doors. If you achieve this, then no one can defeat you. That day, the hierarchy of the gym was broken. Mike did not kick Ip Man out. He asked him where he taught. The next week, that massive bodybuilder appeared at Ip Man's small studio. It was quite simple and plain. It wasn't dark. It was almost like a school. Mike goes to the side of the other students. Standing in line next to the other students, he looked absurd, rising above them like a bear in a room full of foxes. But his arrogance was gone. Those humiliating 10 seconds on the gym floor had cracked the shell of his ego, allowing the light of curiosity to enter. The training began. But this training was not easy like lifting weights in his gym. The training was torture for Mike. Not physical torture, but mental. Ip Man forbade him from using his strength. Too much tension, Ip Man would say, touching Mike's tense trapezius muscles with a bamboo stick. You are carrying the world on your shoulders. Let it go. Mike had to forget 8 years of programming. In bodybuilding, the goal is isolation, to tense the muscle. In Wing Chun, the goal is integration, to relax the muscle so that force can pass through the bones. Mike had to learn to stand not like a fortress, but like a suspension bridge. There were days Mike wanted to quit. Days when he felt stupid trying to perform the delicate, complex movements of Chisao, sticky hands, with his massive, calloused claws. He felt like a bull trying to do embroidery. But he always remembered that feeling of helplessness on the gym floor. He remembered how easily Ip Man controlled him. He wanted that power, the power that could not be measured on a scale. Months turned into years. A transformation took place. Mike did not lose his size, he was still a giant, but the quality of his movement changed. That clumsy stiffness vanished. He learned to move his mass with fluid, terrifying speed. He learned that his size, when combined with centerline theory and economy of motion, turned into a devastating advantage. He stopped being a bodybuilder who thought he could fight and became a martial artist built like a tank. Ip Man passed away years later, leaving behind a legacy that would give birth to Bruce Lee and change the fighting world forever. But in that small corner of the Western world, his legacy lived on through Mike. Mike returned to the Iron Gyms, but he was different now. When young, arrogant weightlifters mocked smaller men, Mike would stop them. He would tell them the story of the day the little dragon walked in and toppled the mountain. He became a bridge between two worlds, teaching bodybuilders that big biceps did not mean a dangerous punch, and teaching martial artists that physical conditioning was not a sin. He taught them that true mastery is not about how much damage you can inflict, but about how much you can control. The lesson Ip Man taught in those 10 seconds was not about violence. We all carry them. We look at the world and think we know what is strong and what is weak. We judge the book by its cover, the fighter by his weight class, wisdom by age. Ip Man showed that assumptions are the enemy of progress. He showed that only an empty cup can be filled. For Mike to truly learn, he had to be emptied. Violently, quickly, and completely. So, what was the last thing you ignored? Is there an obstacle in your life that you fear because of its size? And would you teach a lesson to those who are arrogant due to their ego? I wonder if you were in Mike's place, how would you have approached Ip Man that day? Remember that lesson in the gym. The loudest person in the room is rarely the most dangerous. The biggest structure is often the most fragile. And sometimes what looks like weakness is actually a mastery you do not yet understand. Real strength is not about playing the part. It is about being effective when the world tests you. Do not be the stone that shatters. Be the flowing water. Because in the end, 10 seconds of reality is worth more than a lifetime of illusions.